Hey folks, welcome back to the Lone Pine Tarot. For today's pick a card reading, as you can see by the title down below, we have a more spirit guide oriented reading. This time, not so much about what your spirit guides want to say to you, but how your spirit guides see you. So we'll kind of discuss, what their view is of you, what do they hope for you, what do you kind of look like in their eyes, okay? So without further ado, let's pick our piles for today. Over here on the left, we have number 37, Stop and Take in the View, and the subtitle says, Take Stock of the Treasures You've Earned. For my pile number 2, I have number 22, For This You Were Born. Foster your intention for incarnating in this dimension. And for my pile number 3 is over here on the right. We have number 20, What Would Your Higher Self Do? You Are Divinity in Blue Jeans. Okay, just to reiterate, pile 1, Stop and Take in the View. Pile 2, For This You Were Born. And pile number 3, What Would Your Higher Self Do? Feel free to pause on this part of the video if you haven't decided yet, you haven't seen what card pulls the most to you. Otherwise, whenever you are ready, whenever you've found out what pile you want to be read for you today, as always, the timestamps are down in the description box and or the top pinned comment below underneath the video. Click on the timestamp for your reading and I will see you in our discussion about how your spirit guides view you as a person. Bye. Hello there, my lovely pile number 1s. Welcome to your pick a card reading today on the topic of how do your spirit guides see you. As you recall, the card you used for your pile leader to choose your pile today was the gorgeous Stop and Take in the View with number 37 with the subtitle Take Stock of the Treasures You've Earned. Okay. A lot of blue cards for the pile leaders today, but you have a little bit more of a hint of yellow in here as well. Some more of a gold vibe. Very pretty. So we'll set your pile leader off to the left as always, and we'll read more about it in detail in tandem with the other cards that come forward. Of course, I do have some oracle cards that I already pulled, but I also want to pull about 5 tarot cards from the Ostara Tarot today to get more nitty-gritty details on how your spirit guides see you. I like to pull the tarot cards on camera at least. So, spirit guides collectively for pile number 1s. Could you give me 5 different tarot cards explaining how do you view the querent? How do you view pile number 1s, please? About 5 cards, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. Whatever is most helpful. All right, what stands out for us today? Definitely that one. 1. I feel like that one. 2, 3, 4, and I think that one's sticking out, don't you? 5. Okay. Alrighty, and just as kind of a heads up, the second half of this reading, I usually like to do my readings in sections, but today I'm doing a little bit more ad-lib, a little bit more freestyle. We'll kind of see, what topics come up with how your spirit guides view you, pile number 1s, with the cards that come out, and then at the end I might do some more freestyle questions that are more pertinent to the messages that have come out about how they view you, okay? So technically this reading might have 2 sections, but we'll see. So anyways, I just kind of like to explain the outline of the reading before I get into it. So first we'll look at your oracle cards, jump right into the reading. So your lantern oracle for today is number 32, Eternal Gatekeeper. We have a lot more of that gold and blue vibe. A lot of colors are kind of reiterating themselves here. It says, acknowledge, assert, and protect what is right for you. Okay. Lovely card. Beautiful. I'm going to set that one over here to the right because it's a little bit of a bigger of a card with my limited space. Okay, and then your Elle Qui Oracle for today is, we have Valencia, she who stands resolute, implacable, determined. So a lot of warrior vibes are coming out here. Not only do you have the feeling of like someone guarding something here with Eternal Gatekeeper, you also have Valencia, she who stands, being resolute and determined. It's very strong warrior energies, not so much in like a warrior that attacks first. It's a warrior that defends a lot more, someone who is more strong in the way of protection, okay? So I think so far, of course, based on, we'll see what your Archetypes card says, but so far based on the cards that are coming out, I think your spirit guides view you as a warrior type, and or part of your life path, pile number ones, might be going from someone who's a little bit more, I don't want to say meek, but like someone who's a little bit less strong into someone who's more strong. It kind of just depends on where you're at in your particular life path right now, pile number ones. But yeah, you're definitely a warrior pile for today. And then your Archetypes card, you received the Child Divine. Light attributes, innocence, purity, and redemption suggest special connection with the divine. Shadow attributes, an inability to defend oneself against negative forces. Okay, so that's literally kind of what I was just talking about, pile number ones. Remember I said, you know, perhaps you've had a life path where part of the struggle might have been from, maybe even you're currently still struggling with this, but part of the struggle might have been going from someone who's a little bit more weak into someone who's more strong. I see that here with the shadow attribute, like it says, an inability to defend oneself against negative forces. Okay, so you might have found a lot of times in your life recently, or maybe even the distant past, if you've already kind of grown past this license, or this life lesson, I combined the word life and lesson together into license. This life lesson, excuse me. I'm talking a little bit too fast. I don't know if you're an air sign or not, but anyways, yes, a life lesson where people with negativity have maybe kind of been drawn to you, not in a way that it's your fault, but people with negativity have kind of drawn to you. Maybe you've fallen kind of prey to a lot of negativity or negative people that, you know, I want to say like emotional vampires, because sometimes this is a term we use in our modern society, people like that. And part of your life lesson here, or at least the way your spirit guides view you, pile number ones, is someone not only who has the strength to fight back the darkness, so to speak, of these people or negative people like that, but someone who already is a warrior in this way. Maybe you just haven't fully unlocked that power yet, so to speak. Kind of like I said, depends on where you're at in your life at the time you view this video, but for sure, I think for most of you, this is, and once again, we have like that gold color again. And, you know, in gold, I always kind of just associate with, I mean, kind of like it says on the tin, like child, divine, like divinity, very like an airy color. That's why, another reason why I kind of said, are you an air sign perhaps? We also have a lot of blue though, so that could mean like a water sign. It could also align with the chakra system, things like that. But yeah, so let's pull out your tarot cards before I get too in the weeds. I do that sometimes. All right, your first tarot card is the Two of Pentacles reversed. Okay, Two of Pentacles reversed can mean imbalance, a lack of balance in some area. We'll see. That might have to do, it depends on what other tarot cards come out, but it might have to do with the earlier times in your life where there was a lack of balance in terms of protecting yourself against people that might want to use you or had negative influence on you. Number two, we have the Ace of Swords, a new idea, a new thought. Okay. It's the card of air, or at least swords are air. Pentacles are earth. And then number three, we have the Two of Cups, relationships, okay. Harmony in relationships specifically. We have a happy couple that's just kind of resting on each other. Very cute card. All right. Yep, that's kind of forming what I was saying before, pile number ones. I'll talk about it in a second here. The fourth card, the Empress. This is the card of feminine energy, of motherhood, of nurturing, of creating, bringing to life things out of other materials. Receptive yin energy. And then last but not least, we have the Queen of Pentacles. The Queen of Pentacles is the internal mastery of earth, which in layman's terms or modern terms would be the internal mastery of security, physical comfort. You know, we kind of already see like another motherhood vibe here. She's holding a child. She's taking care of animals that are comforting her. She has abundance, you know, she has, looks almost like the harvest up here. I get like autumnal vibes from it. She has herbs that are drying up here. It looks like garlic, maybe some other herbs, thyme, basil, depending on, can't really tell quite from the art style, but herbs in general. Being very comfortable with what we have internally. Internal security is a great way to summarize the Queen of Pentacles, okay? All right. So pile number ones, we already talked about, in general, the warrior vibes, okay? Number one, off the bat, your spirit guides view you as a warrior, Okay, even if you don't necessarily feel like it right now in your life, maybe you're still struggling with fighting back the forces of, metaphorical darkness, right? People that would seek to use you, people that would seek to, especially with your eternal gatekeeper here, people that would seek to bypass your boundaries and step all over you, right? Like it says, acknowledge, assert, and protect what is right for you. Even if you still struggle with that, your spirit guides are saying that they view you as a warrior despite that, and or like that's part of the trajectory of where you're meant to be in life eventually after this life lesson is learned, okay? And I think part of the reason why that might be a struggle for you, what your spirit guides are saying, pile number ones, is not only do we have I don't want to say, okay, this is a negative connotation, and I mean this very lovingly, pile number ones, with the child divine, when we see symbolically a child, we think of someone who is, or when we say someone is childlike, that can mean very, very positive things, right? That can mean someone who, like it says on the tin, innocence, purity, redemption, special connections with the divine, right? Oftentimes I feel like children are more in tune with the divine than, over time as they become adults, maybe they lose a little bit of connection with that hope and that innocence, of course, right? Because that's just what growing up means. But so I don't want to say like that you're childlike in a negative connotation way. I think it brings a lot of positive values to you, pile number ones. I feel like maybe it even inspires you to be very creative because, you have the Empress here, right? The Empress is the creation energy, right? It inspires you to be someone who is maybe more open-minded, someone who is more optimistic, someone who is more pure in terms of intentions and heart, right? Someone who is very sweet is kind of what your spirit guides are saying, right? However, on the negative side of that, when we say someone is childlike, right? Like I said, I'm saying this lovingly. I'm not, spirit guides and I are not dissing, but unfortunately, sometimes when we are more naive and innocent like that, there are negative energies that can take it, or at least try to take advantage, okay? Because they might look at you and say, oh, this person is, this person's naive, this person's innocent, they're not going to see me coming, they're not going to, So pile number ones, if you found that has happened a lot in your life where you've come across a lot of maybe not so happy, nice people that saw you as someone naive to take advantage of, okay? This is your spirit guides recognizing that and saying that's part of what forms the image of how we see you, one shard of the stained glass whole picture, right? But the positive side of that, not only is, the positive qualities of being more childlike, right? Is that's part of your trajectory, like I was just saying, of becoming that warrior that says, I'm going to keep my innocence, I'm going to keep my purity, and I'm going to keep my optimism and happiness, but now I also have the tools that I need, like with Valencia here, I have the sword, she who stands resolute, implacable, determined, and eternal gatekeeper here to say, acknowledge, assert, and protect what is right for you. Hey, you're not going to step over my boundaries, you're not going to walk all over me. I'm going to defend, especially with the, abundance of all the gold color in here. It's almost like the image I'm being given from the spirit guides that are coming forward for you, pile number ones, is like you have a lot of gold to protect, okay? You have a lot of treasure to protect, and I mean that in terms of it's almost like you're protecting your heart from the world is kind of how they're saying that they see you. Like you're someone that's had to learn how to pick up a sword to defend your heart from the world because, maybe even you find that you're very, you're like, what do they call it? A highly sensitive person. In which case, hello, so am I. So I 100% get it. I'm kind of speaking from experience here a little bit for you pile number ones, is that oftentimes when you're a more sensitive, more innocent, kind of more of childlike quality person, unfortunately part of that learning how to protect that is learning how to pick up a sword and say, hey, I have boundaries. I'm not going to let you walk all over me. Okay. All right. Especially too, like with your pile leader over here, stop in and take the view, stop and take in the view. Take stock of the treasures you've earned. I think maybe part of the early struggle your spirit guides are saying is that they saw you as someone who didn't quite recognize the value of what you had with that personality treasure, so to speak, okay? That gold. And you know, it could be like, yeah, you're still struggling with this, and still your spirit guides want you to recognize this, or maybe this is, like I said, something you've already learned. That there is something of value to protect there. You do have value. You do have the right to say, I'm going to gatekeep my own sensitive golden heart from those who would seek to use me. Okay. That type of thing. So like I said, your spirit guides see you as a warrior. They see you as someone who has the strength to pick up a sword and defend yourself. They see you as someone who has come a long way. All right. Getting more into the nitty gritty here with the tarot cards. I do see, you know, it's almost kind of like, I see this as like a timeline here from left to right. In the beginning here, we have the Two of Pentacles reversed, okay? And the Two of Pentacles reversed, like I said when I pulled it out, is the card of imbalance, all right? Someone weighing things, someone juggling things, someone trying to, I mean, because literally, like, when you juggle, it's like keeping different balls in the air, right? So I think earlier in this path, your spirit guides are saying that they saw you struggle with a little bit of balance. Maybe because of, and you know, it's even funny too, because when you look at this particular depiction of the Two of Pentacles, I'll hold it up right for just a moment. Like literally, like, I think he's holding, or he's like crafting potions. He's almost like an alchemist, right? And there's just like these toxic green fumes, like just pouring forth from these bottles, okay? Like this maybe isn't so much like a good potion, right? Kind of gross looking, right? And so it's almost like in the beginning, your spirit guide saw you struggling with, or maybe currently still struggling with, balancing toxicity, okay? Especially as a highly sensitive person, right? Like when you, because oftentimes, you know, at least in my life, as someone who's also very sensitive, pile ones, I always struggled with the idea of, well, I wouldn't try to hurt anybody else. So why would anybody try to hurt me? Maybe even as a child, you struggled with kind of even understanding where toxicity came from. Like you just didn't get why people couldn't just get along. You didn't get why people just couldn't be nice. You know, of course, now as an adult, obviously, you probably more understand the complexities of where that comes from, right? But it was like you're kind of weighing in your mind here, like this guy weighing the bottles of the potions, like what's going on here? How do I understand this? How do I weigh this? And maybe it led to a lot of, or like a lack of balance in your life, hence the traditional meaning of the Two of Pentacles reversed here. And so you had to do a lot of thinking, your spirit guides are saying, right? They see you as someone who did a lot of thinking, especially with the Ace of Swords here, which is a new idea in terms of your relationships here with the Two of Cups. It's like new ways of thinking right next to, how do I get harmony in relationships? Where do I find people that are in harmony with me? Okay. Where do I find people that don't try to bypass my boundaries, that cherish me, that accept my sensitive heart, right? And so, you know, maybe a lot of your formative years, I almost kind of, your spirit guides are almost kind of showing me as someone that's a little bit more quiet, maybe more introverted, and or, you know, you could be more outgoing, but it's like, I get deep thinker vibes because of that Ace of Swords, right? Especially a deep thinker in terms of relationships. Like, how do I relate to other people? How do they relate to me? How does humanity and society relate to each other as a whole? Maybe those types of thoughts kind of plague you a lot, or I guess plague is a negative connotation, but that type of thing, though, where it's just like, well, how do relationships work? Why do humans do the things that they do, or other people do the things that they do, right? And so maybe, you know, your spirit guides are saying here, with the Empress coming up next, is, you know, finding where there's fertile ground for a sensitive heart like yours, okay? Finding where you can grow and you're not stifled by these negative people that would seek to use or hurt you, right? Very motherly energy here, and maybe even, especially with the abundance of, like, mother vibe cards here, especially the Empress is like literally the mother card, right? But the Queen of Pentacles can also be seen as like a motherly card, and she is holding a child next to her. And there's even like a lamb next to her, like taking care of things, very nurturing energy, especially because the Queen of Pentacles is Earth, right? And Earth is like the motherly nurture energy, right? I don't know if you work with children or if you have children, and that's like a major part of where you gain purpose and pleasure in life, is taking care of your children, nurturing them, right? That type of thing, maybe because you struggled a lot as a child, and so you see the lessons that you learned being the person that you are and imparting it to a new generation so that they have it a little bit easier than you did. Okay, you know, well, and two, I realized this too. Child divine, there's a lot of child energy here. Okay, so and if, you know, maybe you're looking for life purpose or looking for a career path, maybe that speaks a little bit more to your soul, you're not so happy where you're at right now, perhaps working with children would be a good avenue to explore for you, pile number ones. Okay, or perhaps like being a teacher, working with troubled youth, writing for or learning psychology for children, being a therapist for children, that type of thing. Okay, or maybe working with more like stories for children. You could be a writer for, you know, both, you know, kid, middle grade, young adult, etc. Because you've been there, you understand. Okay, and especially with those areas, it's like your spirit guides are saying that they see you as someone who would be very good at reaching children in that way. Okay. But in general too, with the Empress here, it's like they see you as a creative person, I think, too, because the Empress is like that creative energy. Okay. And then at the end of your journey, at least with this particular life lesson, pile number ones, that Queen of Pentacles tells me that, you know, if you're not there yet, eventually, or if you are now, this is somebody who they see as internally secure. Maybe you're even a gardener. That could be another thing. I don't know if maybe you enjoy gardening, you enjoy nurturing plants. Maybe it's not even, maybe more animals too. It could be you work with animals. Hence, you know, like the bird on her head. And then the Queen of Pentacles here has a bunch of animals around her. It's almost kind of gives the sense of being like in a barn with a bunch of animals, being comforted by them, right? Working with animals. Nurturing, that type of thing. So to summarize, pile number ones, your spirit guides, like I said, I already kind of mentioned it a million times, but they see you as a warrior. Okay, they see you as someone who was weak, who learned to be strong, or is currently learning to be strong to defend the weak that come after. Okay, to summarize, they see you as someone that's very creative, someone that's very nurturing, someone that really ponders a lot over the nature of relationships and how humans relate to each other, especially with the Ace of Swords next to the Two of Cups there. Someone who maybe dealt with a lot of toxicity early on in this life path journey with that Two of Pentacles reversed. And had to learn kind of balancing how much you gave of yourself to others who maybe were more metaphorically like, you know, dark of soul people who were maybe a little bit less innocent and a little bit more manipulative than you had initially thought. Okay. So your spirit guides are also acknowledging, you know, maybe there was a bit of pain earlier on in your life, right, because of this in this particular area. And, but I think, you know, you're either well on your way to becoming that warrior. Okay. Taking, you know, strength from the lessons that you learned, and or you already are that warrior, that creative energy, that motherly protective energy. It's like being a warrior with a shield instead of a sword, even though there are a lot of there are a lot of swords here in the reading, but a defender instead of a fighter, I guess, is how I would almost more contextualize that warrior energy. Okay. And then I also want to pull a few cards. Let me see if there's any other like pertinent questions that might be good. I want to ask your spirit guides how they best see you stepping even more into this warrior energy. Okay, protecting the innocent. Okay. Spirit guides for pile number ones collectively. Could you give me about 3 cards explaining advice on how can they step more into that warrior energy? What more could they do to really cement that life lesson on their life path for their soul in this incarnation, please? 3 cards or so. Okay. We have, first up, the Sun. Beautiful. More warrior energy. We have a figure wearing armor, and she's holding like a scepter almost. Love that Sun card. Queen of Cups. Lovely. And I'll talk about their meetings in a second. And then we also have the 4 of Pentacles. Okay. So pile number ones, how do you lean more into that warrior energy? What your spirit guides are saying to become even more of a warrior in their eyes, more than you already have been. The Sun is a card of bringing light, which, you know, symbolically means clarity, shedding light on things. Okay. It also means happiness. It also means joy. It is a very, very positive card to get. Okay. So number one, in a way that you can lean more into this warrior energy, to help your life lesson along here, is to keep up that optimism. Don't let it die, okay? A lot of times the struggle can be when we are optimistic, happy, more innocent people, and we come across bad experiences. That innocence and that optimism can be tainted by jadedness, okay? And that happens very often in the transition from childhood to adulthood. You know, we're a child, the adult world smacks us in the face, bad things happen, and then all of a sudden our light starts to go out a little bit. That, you know, that spark of optimism that we had from childhood just maybe isn't doing so good. So number one, I would think do exercises that really embolden or embrace your inner child. Okay, look into doing inner child work. Okay, especially if you are technically struggling in this area, you're not quite at that warrior energy yet. You're on the way though. And then also, I think doing work that sheds light on this issue. It could be writing, it could be making a YouTube channel or speaking about it. Anything that sheds light. Okay. And just being a more positive influence in, you know, probably, I mean, you probably already are, pile number one's just reading your personality here, but being an even more positive influence in the lives of others, especially with the sun being the card of happiness and joy, okay? Spreading joy to others, all right? Spreading light, bringing clarity, and bringing happiness, okay? So kind of just keep being you, I guess, is what the sun card is saying, but maybe even in a way that speaks out more about it, a little bit more emboldened, right? The Queen of Cups is the internal mastery of water, which is the internal mastery of emotions, okay? How we feel inside, feeling more secure in our emotions, being in touch with them, okay? My channel, you'll hear me say this a million times, and probably those of you who watch me a lot you're going to know exactly what I'm going to say. Meditation, number one, okay? Meditation would be fantastic. Okay, getting in touch with your feelings. How do I actually feel about things? Especially because I think in our modern lives, we have so much that is devoted to just getting through the day and getting through the physical world, this 3D world, right? That we don't devote enough to, okay, well, what's going on inside this meat suit that I have to pilot around to get through my day, right? Just to put it in kind of a funny way, but yeah, meditation would be great. Also, just keeping in tune with your emotions. I don't know if maybe you tend to stuff them down a little bit just to get through the day. Maybe you almost kind of stuff down that sensitive person, that inner child that says, I feel these things about I feel these ways about particular things, and, you know, as an adult, I feel like I have to stuff that down and just, you know, grin and bear it, right? But there is a lot of strength in acknowledging your emotions and letting them come out. Crying when you need to. Crying is never a weakness, okay? Crying is A-okay, and it is actually very, very good for your body because I believe, and anyone in the comments, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe when you cry, it actually releases stress hormones, okay? It actually... I believe it's cortisol is technically the stress hormone. Okay. Feel free to be in touch with your feelings, pile number ones. Also, I'm getting intuitively, don't be afraid to, if you are a very creative person, maybe even you're artistic, you write, you draw, paint, whatever, make music, etc., especially with that Empress energy we had earlier, don't be afraid to lean into even deeper emotions, more maybe stories from your childhood, and embracing or inspiring your creativity, okay? And then last but not least, we have the Four of Pentacles over here. The Four of Pentacles is an interesting card because it's not only the card of upright, it's the card of holding things back, okay? It's reserving energy. It's holding things. This particular figure is, well, it's a rabbit, but they're fantastic. Our fantasy character is shipping out on a boat, and they're holding their resources close to them as they cross the sea, right? You know, of course, when you go on a voyage, you need a lot of resources to maintain that voyage because you need food, you need, you know, ammunition if you're going to come across to fighting, you need to feed the people that are rowing the boat for you, whatever, etc., in this metaphorical example, right? So the Four of Pentacles, like I said, is a card of reserving your energy, and I think, you know, sometimes it can mean being stingy, but I think this is a more positive connotation in keep on reserving your energy from people that would seek to take too much, okay? Keep leaning into, or maybe even more, lean into that warrior energy, that defender energy of, I'm a person who has the right to hold up a shield against those who would wound me, okay? Maybe that's even an affirmation or a mantra maybe you should meditate on, or, you know, think about as you get in touch with your emotions, okay? Do not be afraid to reserve your energy. Do not be afraid to protect your own is kind of the vibe of the Four of Pentacles with this particular reading, okay? So, yes, that's how your spirit guides see you, pile number ones. Your warriors, your sensitive light bringers that unfortunately had to learn how to pick up a sword and a shield, but in doing so, you can help others learn how to pick up a sword and shield for themselves, okay? So I hope that reading was helpful for you, my lovely pile number ones. As always, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye. Hello there, my lovely pile number twos. Welcome to your pick a card reading today on the topic of how do your spirit guides view you. As you recall, the card you used for your pile leader that you chose was number 22. For this, you were born. Foster your intention for incarnating in this dimension. Okay. Beautiful card. A lot of blue pile leaders today. She has like a blue dress. I know in the intro you probably saw the other blue cards, so I don't know if that's like a collective message, something with the color blue, but anyways, we're going to set your pile leader over here to the left. As always, we'll talk about more what it actually means in tandem with the other cards that pop out. As always, I already chose your oracle cards, but then I also want to pull the tarot cards on screen for you. So spirit guides collectively for my pile number two is, could you give me about 5 tarot cards that explain more about how you view them as a person, please? 5 cards or so. How do you view them? What do they look like to you? Okay. Definitely that one, 2. One wanted to pop out with it, 3. 4, and I feel like this one towards the front. Okay, 5. Set my tarot deck off to the side. All right, let's look at your oracle cards. So first up, we have the Lantern Oracle for you pile number twos. We have number 9, responding, not reacting. The only control we have is in how we respond to the hand we are dealt. Okay, talk more about that in a moment. Your Elle key for today is Mora, she who hesitates, ponder, delay, confidence. All right, maybe a bit of a theme popping out here. You're kind of like pile number ones today, where you got a lot of gold and like blue colors in your cards. So we'll see. I almost kind of see that as solar plexus chakra, but. All right, and then your archetypes card, we have Hermit, okay. Light attributes, seek solitude to focus intently on inner life, serves personal creativity. Shadow attributes, withdraws from society out of fear or negative judgments of others, refusing to help those in need. Okay, so definitely I would say your spirit guides see you as a more introverted person, pile number twos. You not only have Hermit, but you also have the She Who Hesitates, and that talks about ponder, delay, confidence. Maybe you're someone who's a little bit more, I don't know, if perhaps struggles with social anxiety is maybe one interpretation, or who used to at one point in your life. It could be that you've already overcome the social anxiety, or at least know how to kind of manage it, right? You almost feel like pile number ones to me, where it's like your spirit guides are saying that you're very highly sensitive in a positive way. Someone with a really lush inner world. Okay. But sometimes I think what they're saying is you have some hesitation with, what's the word? You have some hesitation being more open or demonstrative or manifesting that lush inner life, that inner world, your thoughts to the outside world, okay? Before I get too in the weeds with that, though, let's look at your tarot cards to get more of the nitty-gritty details. I would not be surprised if you also get the Hermit tarot card, but we'll see. Number 1, you receive the King of Wands reversed. Okay, just like what I was saying, this is the card of lack of confidence. Okay, this is someone who the kings are always external mastery of their element, and the wands are fire, right? Very fiery energy you can see in this card, which is like a lack of confidence, a lack of charisma, a lack of feeling able to openly admit things about yourself or openly demonstrate things about yourself in terms of perhaps your creativity. Maybe you've been holding back a little bit on your creative projects, right? maybe just confidence in general. And or, like I said, to pile number ones, sometimes these readings can be things that you struggle with in the past, but in your life lesson in this particular incarnation, you've already overcome it. So this might be more of a past thing, especially it being the first card that comes out. But we'll see what else pops out. We have another Wands, Knight of Wands reversed. Okay, the Knights are about taking action. Reversed, it's a lack of action or a fear of taking action. Pardon the motorcycle in the background. I have a lot of motorcycles that go past my house. Anyways, the Knights are taking action. And with the Wands, it's like a lack of taking action in terms of your willpower or your creativity, okay? Your confidence, right? This is someone who has struggled a lot with confidence is kind of what your spirit guides are saying. Or you're either you currently still do or you used to, right? We also have another Knight, the Knight of Swords, okay? Swords are air, communication. What do I say? What do I think? Logic, strategy, right? The Knight of Swords can also mean basically like someone who takes action with the mind, someone who takes action with the way we speak. All right. Could be that you've already overcome these earlier issues, pile number twos, and now you're more of that Knight of Swords where you verbalize what you actually say more, okay? Or that was corny, sorry. That was dumb. You verbalize what you actually mean or what you feel more, okay? Number 4, we have the Eight of Swords. I feel trapped. This is the card of feeling held back, of feeling stuck. Yep. Someone who is very, they struggle a lot with being open or feeling free to do things, feeling trapped, stuck. Okay, pile number twos. And then last but not least, we have the World reversed. Okay, the World reversed is usually it's about the conclusion of a cycle. Okay, reversed, it's about the cycle has not concluded yet. So I would take this to mean that you're still going through this particular life lesson, pile number twos, and that's perhaps why your spirit guides wanted to talk to you about it today, so that they could kind of help you like shine some light in this area. So I already kind of said a lot of the meanings for the cards that have come out, right? Basically, to summarize of what I said so far, pile twos, your spirit guides are saying that they see you as someone who has a lot to share with the world, okay? You have a lot of inner depth. You have a lot of rich inner life. You have a lot of good ideas to share with the world, okay? It's just that I think this particular lesson that they're talking about is a lesson of being more confident, okay? Not only do we have the King of Wands reversed over here next to the Knight of Wands reversed, which is about not only lacking confidence in an area, but it's also about lacking taking action with confidence in especially like creativity or willpower. Maybe you find other people try to walk all over you a lot, unfortunately, because they see you, you're almost kind of like pile number ones that way, where they almost kind of see you as maybe meek is the right word, okay? Not that you are, it's just that people sometimes will take someone who is quiet and more introverted and they'll take it as a weakness. Unfortunately, that's just how our world works sometimes. Also depending culturally too, at least here in the West, oftentimes introverts are seen as, or quiet people, I should say more. Maybe people would see you as a pushover, okay? So if you struggled with that so far, pile number twos, your spirit guides are recognizing that. And they're not saying so much as they see you as a pushover, okay? They're saying that very, very lovingly, they wish that that you felt more confident to be open about yourself, okay? Because there is a lot of value you have to offer to the world, okay? What's interesting over here too is the responding, not reacting card. Like it says at the bottom, the only control we have is in how we respond to the hand we are dealt. I think there's some element of one of the reasons why your spirit guides are saying that you fear speaking out more is because you fear either like the way you can control your reaction or the way that like it's like controlling other people's reactions. Maybe you're afraid of what other people might say, okay? Things like that. So it's almost like your spirit guides are saying that it's oftentimes you kind of feel trapped in your own mind and you feel kind of like trapped in the whims of others because, especially with that Eight of Swords here, maybe you're even lonely a lot too because of like the Hermit card, withdrawing from society out of fear of negative judgments from others, refusing to help those in need. I think for you that more probably manifests in the way of, it's like you just fear judgment. It's almost like a social anxiety type thing I'm getting from the vibes here. Pile number 2 is tying that in with your pile leader as well. It says, for this you were born, foster your intentions for incarnating in this dimension. Part of the life lesson I think your spirit guides are recognizing here is that this overcoming this lack of confidence, overcoming your perhaps social anxiety is how it's manifested, overcoming your hesitation, okay? Your shyness. Not that shyness is a bad thing. I'm a very shy person myself. I'm class A hermit, so like I 100% where you're coming from, pile number 2. So like I get it. So shyness isn't a bad thing, but in overcoming your shyness, it can help. Like, what's a good example? I guarantee you, pile number 2s, there are many times in your life where you held back something that you wanted to say because of a fear of rejection or negative attention from others that actually would have helped these other people a lot. Okay, maybe it manifests in ways at work. Maybe you shy away from sharing your ideas when it comes to brainstorming ideas at work, and your spirit guides are saying that I think you have a lot of really great ideas. It's just that unfortunately, nothing can come to fruition if you don't plant the seeds, right? In so metaphorically speaking, saying things, right? And so part of the life lesson is, like it says, for this you were born, foster your intention for your incarnation in this dimension. It's like your life path here almost has 2 steps, pile number 2s. Step number 1 is overcoming the feeling or fear of rejection. Okay. Becoming confident. And then step number 2 of your life path on this planet with this particular incarnation is then sharing who you are more with the world. That can manifest in many different ways. Pile number 2 is you could be a creative person. I do see a lot of swords, which swords tend to be the element of air. I do see a lot of wands, which is the element of fire, and air is about communication, and fire is about creativity. So it could be with this rich inner life. I don't know if maybe you work on like writing a lot, or you work on art, or you work on music, something that is creative that speaks to other people. It's like the second part of this life path for you, pile number 2, is actually sharing that with the world, okay? It's like you're hiding away diamonds because of a fear that they'll be crushed, okay? But I think you'll find a lot of success and positive reaction once you overcome a fear of rejection and once you become more confident is kind of what your spirit guides are saying. Pile number 2 is okay. Let's see. In one moment, I'm going to adjust my chair. Sorry if you hear any squeaking noises. I'm just going to sit up a bit taller because I'm a very short person. I'm height challenged, right? Helps me reach the cards better. So let's look at these other cards for a moment. Pile number 2 is... Yeah, and it's almost, especially too with Mora, it says ponder, delay, confidence, hesitates. It's almost like... I don't know if people... I don't want to say that they like walk all over you intentionally. Maybe sometimes people do, because unfortunately there's just not so nice people that exist in the world, as we all know. But okay, here's a good example. This is kind of what's popping up for me intuitively for you, pile number 2 is, it's like being at work and you're brainstorming ideas, right? And you have a really damn good idea, and you are like, this is going to be the best thing ever. It's the perfect solution to what we're looking for, etc., etc. And you go to say something and someone interrupts you a lot, and then they have an idea that the group just goes along with because they said it first, okay? Or maybe it's even you struggle with the issue of you say something, but just because you didn't say it with confidence, someone else says the same thing later, and all of a sudden it's like the best thing since sliced bread, even though technically you came up with the idea in the first place. And, maybe even you've struggled with people getting credit for things that you originally said or suggested. That's kind of where I'm seeing this manifest here. And so your spirit guides are saying that they want you to get that credit. They want you to get that notoriety. It's just that unfortunately part of the life lesson is learning to speak out more, okay? To be heard, all right? To not feel so trapped here with that 8 of Swords, okay? So, yes, and of course, like, I know this has been technically, it kind of almost feels more like a life lesson reading, but your spirit guides are sharing this with you, pile number 2s, because they want to see you grow and they want to see you thrive. They want you to feel more confident, and manifest in the world I'd almost say the divinity that is inside you that you're hiding away right now, or you feel pressured to hide away. Because a lot of times when we share our ideas with the world, our creativity with the world, what it really is sharing a spark of the divine with the world, okay? A lot of, think about how much you probably enjoy art and music yourself, or reading, those types of things, right? And what would be lacking in your life if those people, those artists, had held back and didn't feel confident enough to share their gift with the world, okay? That's kind of what I'm saying is that, I think you'll have a lot more impact when you do feel more confident in releasing your ideas to the world, pile number 2s, because you'll realize just how many hearts it may touch. And that's what your spirit guides are saying, is that you have the ability to touch hearts, okay? That's part of your life purpose here, is to touch hearts, okay? I don't know if maybe earlier in your life you felt ashamed for the things that you were interested in, and the reason I say that is because there's a lot of imagery here of figures holding their heads down and hiding away, like your She Who Hesitates card here, she's holding her head kind of down in a way. Your Hermit is holding his head down in a way. And even in your Lantern Oracle here, the figure is holding her head down in a way. And it's almost kind of like this is you, and then this is your spirit guide looking at you, trying to comfort you, like, hey, you don't always have to hold your head down. You can hold your head up high and be confident, okay? You can be proud of who you are. You can be confident in who you are and everything that you create, because there's a lot of value to it that maybe you just don't understand or recognize yet, because you haven't had the confidence yet to share it with the world, And I also, I didn't say this in the beginning of the reading, but technically there's 2 sections to this reading, pile number 2s, where the second section is a little bit more ad-lib, more freestyle, kind of asking questions of your spirit guides that are related to the reading or the message that came out, okay? And so I think for you, pile number 2, is what I want to ask your spirit guides is what's their advice for leaning more into your confidence and feeling more open to share with the world. And especially, I might also want to ask what to do, if it feels like you're not being listened to or talked over, okay? I want to ask those 2 different questions. Yes, okay, so let me commit that to memory. All right, spirit guides, we have 2 questions for you for pile number 2. Is number 1, I want to ask you maybe if you could give us 3 cards for the collective of pile number 2, explaining more about how they can lean into their confidence more. How can they become more confident, okay? Or what do you want to say to them that would make them more confident? Maybe that's a better way of phrasing that, please. 3 cards or so of advice for pile 2s. Excuse me. Okay, that one I'm feeling. 2 and 3. Advice on becoming more confident, or what do they want to say to you that would make you feel more confident to share, okay? Number 1, we have the King of Pentacles. Okay, this is the king of external mastery, of physical security. Pile number 2 is if you were to share more about your creative ideas or your things that you're passionate about, who you are with the world, this is the card of material security. This is literally the king of security, okay? If you're worried about money, I would not worry about money whatsoever. I think you'd find a lot of success, is what your spirit guides are saying, if you were willing to share this with the world, okay? This is literally the card of, like, the best success, other than maybe the 10 of Pentacles or the 10 of Cups. But, yep, external mastery of the physical world, okay? You would be very successful if you were to pursue this, okay? To be more open. Number 2, the 7 of Swords. This is the card of being trickstery or sneaky. I call it the sneaky card. We even have a raccoon as their... often known as trash pandas, right? They're kind of sneaky. I love raccoons, but of course they do like to dig through the trash. This is the card of deception or trickery. We'll talk about that in a second with the other card that pops out, because sometimes the context can change. And then last but not least, yep, we have the Queen of Wands. Okay, remember all those reversed wands earlier? It was like a lack of confidence. This is the internal mastery of confidence and willpower and creativity. So, pile number 2s, some advice, how to be more confident. Your spirit guides are saying here, yeah, don't worry about the material side of things. I think you've got that down pat. I would not even worry about, like, how successful it would be monetarily. because, like I said, the King of Pentacles is the mastery of the material world, okay? Very good card in terms of material security, in a predictory aspect, right? But then we also have the Seven of Swords and we have the Queen of Wands, okay? The Seven of Swords, like I said, is sneaky, sneaky. Queen of Wands is internal confidence, okay? This could either mean that a way to boost your confidence is to almost trick yourself into being more confident. Have you ever heard, there's a common suggestion made by, I believe, psychologists mostly, but people that generally give advice in this area, where sometimes just telling yourself something, even if you don't believe it, will help you actually eventually believe it, okay? Like, for example, a lot of people do this with affirmations and mantras, right? Saying, I am confident. My work has value. Okay, repeating that to yourself, meditating on it. If you're into yoga, sometimes when people do yoga, they'll do, what's the word? They'll talk about intentions. What's your intention for yoga today, right? If you do yoga, like, that'd be perfect. Or, if you are a more outdoorsy person, maybe reflect on, or I guess it doesn't have to be outdoor, any hobby in general, right? I am good at this and it is of worth. Okay, telling yourself these things, almost, I don't want to say fooling yourself, because it's not actually a deception, but sometimes our dumb monkey brains have been programmed to think stupid things, and I mean that in a loving way. Stupid as in it's tricking yourself, right? And so we have to re-trick our brain into rethinking, recontextualizing how we view ourselves and our work and our worth, okay? So look into different exercises into becoming more confident, okay? Yes, especially with the Seven of Swords next to the Queen of Wands, internal confidence. It's like you almost have to learn to convince yourself to see the worth inside, because for some reason, for whatever psychological reason, pile number twos, the ability to believe in your worth was robbed from you a long time ago. And so you have to retrain your brain. Maybe even therapy would help. Retraining your brain into being more confident about yourself. Apologies if you hear chair noises again as I readjust. Yes, so tricking yourself into being more confident. Like looking in the mirror, and this is corny as hell, I know, but looking in the mirror and looking at yourself and saying, I am confident today. Okay? Sometimes even that is enough to convince yourself, okay? And even if you are a little bit afraid to share more of your work with the world, just try it a little bit and see what happens, okay? Just once. And I think you'll find a lot more positive reaction, your spirit guides are saying, than you're expecting. And that can also fuel confidence, right? But you'll never know if you never try. Okay? All right, and then the second question I wanted to ask for you was, if you do find people walking over you or talking over you, what's your advice from your spirit guides on how to overcome that? So spirit guides of pile number twos, could you tell me more about, what's your advice for, if and when people tend to walk over or talk over pile number twos? Maybe 3 cards, please. And like I said, pile number twos, I 100% get you, because I've had many of the same struggles myself. Part of my tarot channel is becoming confident and sharing with the world, so I've been on the same path as you. Okay, 1, 2, and I think this one back here, 3. How to overcome people walking or talking over you. Okay, card number 1, we have the Star. Having hope or faith, okay? I'm going to tell you that's probably having hope or faith in the value of what you're saying. Maybe sometimes, I don't want to say that you let them walk all over you or talk over you, but maybe you don't argue or speak louder because you feel like, well, it probably wasn't a value what I was going to say anyways. Like that type of defeatist attitude, right? Okay, have hope or faith in what you're saying. Also have hope or faith in the positive reaction of other people. You might find a lot more positive reaction than you're expecting, pile number twos, okay? Card number 2, the Ace of Wands, a spark or an ember, okay? I would say this is almost an indication that to bring up things, because aces are the cards of newness, right? It's like a new idea, something starting, right? Ace of Wands is like a spark or an ember. The immediate moment you get an idea, say it. Like if you're at work, don't hesitate, just say it. Okay, even if you think you're going to sound stupid, I guarantee you, like, you probably are going to come off as a lot more smart, and your idea will probably be received a lot better than you're expecting, okay, especially with the star being next to it. Okay. And then last but not least, we have the Knight of, that is the Knight of Cups reversed, okay? Knights are taking action, cups are emotions, right? Reversed, it's a lack of taking actions on your emotions, okay? I would say this is an indication to tune into your emotions and take action on them more, pile number 2s. If you're in a situation where you feel like, you know, I almost wonder if it's that you tend to, I don't know, it's not like beating yourself up. It's more in tandem with, what's the word? I'm trying to find the best way to explain it. What I'm saying is it's like, we oftentimes, people who have these struggles will, when they get a negative emotion to something, they might not always listen to it because they might not feel like their emotions are worth listening to. Like a more tangible example is, like, let's say you're at work and someone talks over you constantly, and your initial inclination is, like, your snap emotion is, I'm irritated, this makes me angry that I'm being talked over, right? But maybe you're the type of person that tends to stuff that down because you think, well, you know, maybe they didn't mean it. You know, oh, well, you know, maybe I don't want to rock the boat. You know, specifically, they're riding on a boat, right? I don't want to rock the boat. Oh, I don't want to be, you know, blah, blah, blah. And unfortunately, when we don't listen to our emotions, we're losing the guideposts or the North Stars to follow to understand what it is that, you know, would make us happier, I guess is the best way to put that. So when you are in a situation where you're pretty sure someone is, maybe sometimes you don't even recognize it, pay attention to your emotions in your interactions with others, pile number 2s, because the reason you feel emotions is for a reason, okay? Be more in tune with when you get irritated. Be more in tune with when you get angry, okay? Don't immediately jump to, well, I gotta stuff those feelings down because they're uncomfortable and I don't want to rock the boat. Jump to, why am I feeling this feeling? And I think oftentimes you'll find the answer is because I feel like I'm being walked over and not valued, okay? And part of the journey to being valued and listened to is recognizing when you're not being listened to and when things are unfair to you, okay? So, yes, your emotions are guideposts. They'll tell you the right way. You just have to listen to them, okay? So yes, I hope that reading was helpful for you, my lovely pile number 2s. Be more confident. You have a lot of value to give to the world, okay? There's a lot of value in who you are. You just have to be willing to put yourself out there more, okay? And be willing to listen to your emotions and have faith that I think other people will react more positively to your ideas and who you are than you think they will, okay? Because you owe it to yourself to share your inner divinity with the world, I guess is a good way to summarize that, okay? So, yes, I hope that was helpful for you. I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading, pile number 2s, okay? Bye. Hello there, my lovely pile number 3s. Welcome to your pick a card reading today on the topic of how do your spirit guides view you. As you recall, the card you used to pick your pile leader is number 20. What would your higher self do? You are divinity in blue jeans. Lovely card. We had a lot of blue pile leaders today, but you have like the bluest card. Very pretty card. So we're going to set that off to the left over here, as we always do with your pile leaders. We'll talk about more what it actually means in tandem with the other cards that come forward for you. We have oracle cards I already pulled for you, and then I also have some tarot cards that I would like to draw on screen. So spirit guides, communally for pile number 3s, could you give me 5 cards explaining more about how do you see them? How do you view them as a person, please? 5 cards. Okay, and then while I'm picking the cards, I'll explain more about the format of this video. So let's see, 1, it So this reading will be actually in about 2 different sections, pile number 3s. I didn't explain this much in the intro, but section number 1 will be more about what the actual reading says on the tin, and then section number 2 will be a more ad-lib freestyle part of the reading where we're going to ask questions that are more relevant to what comes out in the first section. So maybe more advice on kind of how your spirit guides view you as we get to the second section there. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Okay. So let's look at your oracle cards first, pile 3s. Your Lantern Oracle today is Transitions number 37. You have all the inner resources you need to cross whatever bridges arise on your path. Transitions. So maybe your spirit guides are recognizing that you're in a phase of a lot of change right now. Could be even familial change, especially this is the card of an elderly person kind of becoming one with the universe, right? We kind of maybe see that as a representation of moving past this incarnation into, not you specifically, but I think, you know, maybe there have been a lot of changes, maybe even a death in your family recently, I guess is kind of what I'm trying to say. So there's been a lot of change, more chaos recently. More, what's the word, entropy? Is that the word? I'll just say chaos. It's a little bit more relevant, but your Elle Qui is she who yearns, Desiree, yearn, longing, pine for, someone who dreams a lot, someone who is really seeking something right now, someone who has a dream on the horizon. Maybe it's finally kind of in grasp, or you're working really hard towards it at least. Okay, and your Archetypes card for today is, we received the Liberator, light attributes, freeing yourself and others from outmoded beliefs, releasing negative thought patterns, shadow attributes, imposing your tyranny over those you claim to liberate, ignoring legitimate constraints. Okay. So your spirit guides, definitely, you have a little bit more of a multifaceted reading than the other piles today. But with that particular card, what your spirit guides are saying is they see you as someone who is more liberty-oriented. I mean, even this figure kind of looks like the Statue of Liberty with the torch in her hand, right? Liberty-oriented. You don't like powers that be telling you what to do, okay? You are someone that questions society and the outmoded ways of doing things, kind of like what the card says, and asking, you know, why do we do this thing this way? Why aren't we doing it this way? Why are we letting this suffering go on? Why are we letting, you know, insert ABC here, happen, okay, at a societal level, right? It might even manifest in your personal life where, you know, maybe you live your life a little bit more off the grid. Maybe you don't like society or the government telling you what to do, depending on, you know, the government where you live, but in general, you know, government's kind of the same everywhere, right? It's the authority structure, right? Maybe you've struggled with authority, maybe even as a kid you struggled with authority a little bit, okay? Your spirit guides are recognizing this as a positive attribute, okay? Someone who is willing to look beyond authority and say, okay, but where's liberty, right? That type of feeling. Yes, and then she who yearns, Desiree, yearn, longing, pine for. That's kind of someone who's a dream seeker, okay? Can it even be connected to that liberator type energy of, you know, maybe part of the reason you are a liberator in your life, pile number 3s, is because you do see on the horizon, you know, dreams of a better world, okay? Dreams of living your life in a way better or different than what came before. I would not be surprised if you get the Hierophant reversed with your tarot cards, which we'll talk about in a second, but yes. And especially, too, with your pile leader over here, what would your higher self do? Your divinity in blue jeans. I think you're someone who's very in touch with the other side, pile 3s, and, you know, especially, I think, compared to the other piles today, you know, you're someone who already is so connected with the idea of or different ideas from spirituality that manifests very easily in your life, you know, because like it says, you are divinity in blue jeans, okay? You are someone who takes ideas from divinity, like free will, especially with Liberator, right? Dreaming for a better future with Desiree, right? And you manifest that in your life as someone who wants to bring divinity here on earth, metaphorically speaking, okay? That's why you question society. That's why you question authority, because you see in the ways that authority and traditional structures don't serve humanity from a divine perspective, okay? Because, you know, unfortunately, the way that modern societies are, we do live our lives a lot in ways that are not aligned with divinity, you know, are not aligned with the idea of free will, are not aligned with the idea of being, you know, an independent shard of the universe, you know, manifesting itself through physical matter, right? Getting more scientific explanation, but you know what I mean? Like that type of thing. So that too with transitions here, which can mean you have dealt with a lot of chaos in your life. But like I said, when I first pulled it out, I think that's kind of the second multifaceted part of your reading here. Not only like you're the dreamer and liberator, but maybe currently in your life, your spirit guides are recognizing that you're going through a lot of time of change and transition right now. Okay. Maybe you're making a lot of changes towards that vision of life that's more in tune with your idea of what divinity is, living life in a more spiritual, natural, honest way. Okay. You know, or, you know, perhaps there's been a lot of change in your life recently. And so you've been dealing with a lot of that chaos. And your spirit guides are saying that they see you, especially with the saying down here at the bottom. It says, you have all the inner resources you need to cross whatever bridges arise on your path. If you've been struggling with those changes recently, pile number 3s, they're saying that you have the power to handle those transitions, okay? You have the power to build bridges over whatever issues you come across, all right? So that's a little bit of advice from your spirit guides in what generally is more of a reading about who you are as a person, but yes, they are acknowledging that. So let's pull out your tarot cards, pile 3s. Number 1, we have the 6 of Cups. This is the card of childhood and nostalgia. Okay. Talk about that more in a second, especially with whatever card comes out next to it. Sometimes that gives it more context. We have the 7 of Swords, sneaky, sneaky. This is the card of deception or cunning. All right. Interesting. Let's pull more before I say anything on those cards. Okay. Number 3, we have the 6 of Pentacles. Okay, that's a little bit of that fairness and equality thing we were talking about with Liberator, right? This is the card of fairness, of charity, of equal distribution. She's got, you know, the justice scales or the weighing balance scales in her hands. Merchant scales. All right. Oh, yep. Okay. I'll talk about that in a second. All right. The Hanged Man, different perspectives. You do not see life the way society does, for sure, pile number 3s. You are... I don't want to call you eccentric, because that's... I know sometimes maybe eccentric has a little bit of a negative connotation. I mean it very positively, though. Like, you do not go with the flow in terms of what society expects you to do in a good way. Fantastic. Pioneers. And we have justice again. Justice reversed this time, though, with the Egyptian goddess Ma'at. Okay. Lots about justice and fairness in here, yep. Especially with Liberator that popped out earlier. Okay, to summarize, excuse me if you hear chair noises, I'm going to adjust my seating a little bit. I'm a very short person, so sometimes I have to sit on my legs to, like, prop myself up to reach the cards better, but yes, pile number 3s. You are very justice-oriented. Okay, we already talked about that with Liberator, but for sure, especially because you got Justice Reversed and the 6 of Pentacles, which are both, like, the fairness cards. All right. Yeah, I think even you might even get angry when there's injustice, pile number 3s, okay? Not a fan of when things aren't fair, okay? Most people aren't, but I think especially for you, it's like you get kind of triggered by it. In a good way, positive way, because I think it really fuels you into... It's almost like, I think, and the reason that I'm getting here from your spirit guides is the reason why you... why it bothers you so much than other people, even more than most people would, is because it's like you see everybody on the level of, like, a soul, like, in a spiritual way, and not so much in the more common, very earth, material-focused way, okay? And so when you look at other people, pile number 3s, your spirit guides are saying it's like they see that you see everybody is equal because we're all a piece of the same thing, originally, spiritually speaking, right? Of all equal worth, of all equal worth of equal fairness, right? And so because you're not so entrenched in the material world, you're more a spiritual person, I'm getting here. It bothers the heck out of you because you're just like, you know, I just don't understand why so many people here on earth are so material focused. And so, you know, maybe especially greed makes you angry. Okay. So yeah, to summarize for you, pile 3, is your spirit guides see you as there's a very strong liberator, justice oriented element. Okay. Maybe even some of you are Libras. Especially with all the balance skills popping out here in terms of your astrological sign. Yeah, I mean, you have what I call, I always, in my readings, I call this a hammer reading, which is when there's a lot of cards that come out that are a very similar message, and it's like a hammer beating a nail on the head, right? So you have a hammer reading in that. That's a very strong aspect of your personality. But, you know, there's a lot of, you know, like I said before, there's a lot of multifaceted elements to it, though. It's not just, you know, rah, here's my justice skills, I'm going to do what's right. The reason you do that is because there's an element of childhood here, especially with the 6 of Cups on the left here. The 6 of Cups is nostalgia, you know, looking back on earlier times. Maybe you have a fascination with history. It is kind of one interpretation intuitively, I'm being told, with the 6 of Cups there, but also it's like even as a child, you saw the deception and trickery of the world, okay, especially with the 7 of Swords being right next to it, okay? You saw the unfairness in the world even as a kid. So I think, I don't know, you might be a very old soul. Pile number 3s is the common term we use for it. Someone who has been here a lot on Earth, incarnated a lot on Earth. Someone who gets it, so to speak. Is someone who understands the real meaning behind life. Is not in material wealth, is not in how much power and money can I lord over others. You understand that the value of life is more in terms of, you know, what's the spiritual value of what I'm learning here on Earth, right? What class, metaphorically, am I taking here with my soul? What life lesson am I going through, okay? And you maybe see it more in a collective way of, you know, we're all students here learning. Like, why don't we just try to make each other's lives easier here while we're learning? Why does there have to be war? Why does there have to be greed? Why does there have to be misery and suffering and struggle and you know, insert the many sins of earth here, you know, going on and on. I could go on forever, right? Because unfortunately, sometimes earth can be a very dark place, as we all know. But thankfully, there's people like you, pile number 3s, that are more in tune with the other side and can help bring a spark of light into the dark world. And what your spirit guides are saying is they recognize you as someone who is like that. I don't know, is that technically what a light worker is? I would say like light worker vibes, right? In general, whatever term you want to use. Someone who is more in tune with the other side. And someone who wants to bring that divinity more into the world, okay? Someone who sees the world for what it could be and is not happy with what it is because it is not aligned with who humans are by their heart and their soul, okay? And so maybe you have lived a life that's a little bit off the grid, you know, in terms, I mean, literally off the grid, but maybe, you know, more off the wall. It's more negative connotation, but you know what I'm saying? Like, not in tune with what society wants. Maybe you didn't, you know, go for a degree that made you tons of money, you know, because you wanted money, you know, or maybe you don't even have a degree at all because you didn't really see the value of higher education in terms of actually giving you applicable skills, because oftentimes, you know, saying as someone who has a degree myself, I'll be honest, it really most of the time doesn't teach you skills you actually need to survive in the workplace, okay? Like, sometimes degrees are literally just a rubber stamp on a resume that says, here's the thing that I paid lots of money for, now hire me. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not decrying the value of education. I learned a lot when I was in college, specifically. I liked college a lot. But, you know, all of us can admit to ourselves, a degree doesn't guarantee that you're going to be an expert. A degree doesn't guarantee that you're going to be skilled. A degree doesn't guarantee that you're actually going to, it's not going to teach you skills that you actually need to survive, okay? We'll just be blunt and honest. Like, I love education, but yes. So, you know, perhaps, oh, excuse me, I knocked the thing. Perhaps, you didn't even have, or you don't even have like a degree because you just didn't see the value in higher education. Maybe you were someone who wanted to work more with your hands. I guess to summarize what I'm saying, pile number 3 is you're someone who didn't live the whole, or you currently are not living the whole, go through school, graduate high school, get a degree, get married, have a son and a daughter, have a house with a white picket fence, have a nice car, save tons of money for retirement, die. Like, that's at least in Western society, that's the whole general how to live your life manual that society gives us. And what I'm saying with you, pile number 3, is you said, screw that. That is just going to grind my soul to bones and dust and ashes, okay? And I'm going to live my life in a different way because this different way is more in tune with who I am as a person spiritually, and it also is more in tune with the way that, I think you personally perceive is a spiritual, more honest life, okay? So that's what your spirit guides are saying to you, pile number 3, is you're someone who, they see you as someone who lives life authentically. They see you as someone who lives your life with fairness in mind, especially with the Hanged Man right here. That's the card of different perspectives, okay? Literally, he's hanging upside down and viewing the world in a different way. And in this particular depiction, he's literally lying, or he's hanging above a pack of sleeping wolves, right? Maybe sometimes you go where angels fear to tread because you wanted to see, life from different perspectives, okay? You wanted to see life in different ways. Maybe even in this current incarnation, you have lived life a bunch of different ways. Maybe you've moved between social classes, things like that. Maybe that's kind of where that transitions comes in, is because it's like shifting from one phase to another a lot. Very mutable energy, not so much fixed, right? Is kind of what I'm seeing from your spirit guides here, pile number 3s, okay? So if I were to summarize you in one phrase so far with the cards that have popped out, what's the good, they're telling me intuitively chaos maker, but it's like very, very positive. It's not chaos maker in that you're like a ruffian, okay? But like a chaos maker in terms of, it's almost like that. If you're familiar with tarot, it almost gives me the vibe of the tarot, or of the Tower card in tarot, where yes, there's chaos, but sometimes chaos needs to happen in order to break down the structures that aren't serving us anymore, that were built on shaky foundations, to pave the way for a better future with stronger foundations that'll last longer and are more healthy, okay? That's kind of what I think, I'm being told with chaos maker, all right? Yes. And it might not even be that you maybe you don't live your life in a very like loud way. So it doesn't mean that you're a chaos maker in terms of, hey everybody look at me protest, or hey everybody look at me, being speaking my values on the internet, or hey everybody look at me do this. It's like just in the way, well, that's where the authenticity comment comes in. Living your life in a very authentic way. You don't just say it, you actually live it, pile number 3s, and that's what your spirit guides are commending you for and recognizing for you in this particular reading today. Yeah, very humble, authentic, honest. Okay, fairness is your core value, it feels like, here with all these cards that came out. And you do not suffer fools gladly, especially those that are being sneaky, like that 7 of Swords. You don't do well with the human equivalent of trash pandas. I mean, most of us don't, but I think especially for you, it triggers the justice oriented thing, and you're like, that type of feeling. So, the second section of the reading, like I said, is going to be like a little bit more freestyle. I think maybe I'll ask 1 or 2 questions. We'll see how far the first one goes, depending on time. I always try to keep my readings under 30 minutes because I know you're busy, right? So what's a good question in tandem with this reading? Let's see. Good question. I think I want to ask your spirit guides if they could tell us more, to give you some advice on living your life even more authentically, okay? Or maybe even spreading your message a little bit. So spirit guides at pile number 3s for our chaos makers, as you called them. Could you give me 3 cards of advice for them on even embodying this justice-oriented questioning authority vibe more. More advice on that, please. 3 cards, please. Oh, pile 3s, I love you. You're amazing. Okay. Mad respect. Okay, we have 1, let's see, 2, and 3s. I don't know, just when I'm thinking about this reading, I get a smile on my face, pile number 3s. I think you and I would get along quite well. All right, number 1, we have the page of, that is the Page of Cups reversed. Okay, the pages are explorers of their suit, apprentices. Cups are emotions. Okay, reversed, it's asking maybe for more of exploring your emotions. Okay. So maybe there's even more facets to this justice-orientedness you haven't explored yet. And the key to that is exploring your emotions more. We'll talk about that message more in tandem with the other cards that pop out. The second one is the Devil. All right, the Devil is the card of being chained. It is the card of being held down by addictions or things that are binding us, okay? You see they have, the Devil has these 2 people trapped in a little lantern glass case. All right, what binds and holds us down or back? Oh boy. All right, and then the third card is the 7 of Pentacles, planting seeds for the future. This particular depiction can also mean family orientedness because we have a lot of I was going to say pandas. Because we call them trash pandas. Raccoons. They're very cute. I love raccoons. I call them trash pandas, but they're cute. All right, so more advice on embodying this more in your life, pile number 3s, okay? Yeah, Page of Cups reversed. Explore your emotions more in this area. Explore more about why it makes you angry, because yes, of course your initial answer might be like, oh, well, because it's not fair. But really delve more into why you feel it's not fair, okay? And I think you'll find even more complexity in like what brought you to that conclusion, and even more bring you to like widening your horizons even more spiritually, or even if you do want to share these ideas with the world, putting them down in writing, and maybe even making videos or writing about it, that type of thing, or being even expressing it in creative projects too. You could do that as well. Things like that. Just explore more avenues of exploring your emotions regarding not only, we talked a lot about the fairness and like the chaos maker vibes, but also, with your dreams too. We also have the aspect of you being a dreamer, right? That type of thing. Okay, why do you want these things? Okay. What emotion is fueling that, right? And that'll come to a greater understanding of yourself and society as a whole. The Devil. The Devil is all about what chains, what binds us, okay? I think there's even more areas of your life or areas of society you could look at that chain society more than maybe you've even acknowledged or recognized yet. Maybe it's more that you've acknowledged these things on a personal level, but there's even more depth to which you could dive with this. Maybe even the Devil represents you feeling like you yourself feel a little bit changed from actually manifesting or speaking out about these things that upset you, or I know, like I did say before, that it seems like your spirit guides say that you live your life very honestly and authentically, but maybe it's like you do so in a very personal way and you haven't really come out and shared that message with other people yet because of a feeling of being held back with that Devil, too, like with the Page of Cups reversed right next to it. Especially because it being next to the 7 of Pentacles, which is like the planting seeds for the future card. I think there's a lot of value in you sharing this with, not only like trying to explore these types of things with your family, because like that's particularly that depiction is a family oriented card, it's family raccoons, right? But also planting seeds for the future generations, right? Living life in the society we do now. Okay, how have you gotten through it? Where have you seen unfairness? Okay, how did how have you been living your life in a way that broke the chains of these things that aren't right? Okay, because that can oftentimes inspire future generations into finding the ways that society binds them and being more open and honest and free with who they are or what they believe in too. You could even manifest this in a spiritual way. If you're a very spiritual person, oftentimes, depending on the area you're in, or the friend group or social groups you're around, being more openly spiritual can be either highly looked upon or highly looked down upon. I think just being more fearless in general would be a really good summary of the advice for you from your spirit guides, and embodying this confidence more of being honest and authentic and justice oriented in everything that you do. Even, like, let's say you have, you've decided something for yourself in your dreams that's a little bit uncharacteristic for society, what generally society reaches for as a whole, pile number threes. And so maybe you say to your friends and your family, hey, I'm doing this thing, and I know it's a little unconventional, but this is the reason that I'm doing it. And like sharing those ideas with others oftentimes can be like, especially with the symbolism of the torch here with the liberator, sharing those ideas with others can also be like an ace of wands, or like a spark for other people, in making them start to question authority and society in general and what they actually want in life versus what society tells them that they should want. And by doing that, you help spread the message just beyond yourself to other people, okay? Is kind of how I would summarize the advice for you, pile number threes, okay? So, as always, I hope that reading was helpful for you, my lovely pile threes, my chaos makers, very lovingly said. I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading, okay? All right, bye.